All right, Nerdy Bones back in the studio. What's up, Nick?
What's up, Keith?
I'm excited for today's topics, dude.
Today's gonna be fun,
I'm
man.
very excited for
I had to do
topics.
research this week, which I put off until the last minute.
That's my forte, man. Like I usually go into crunch time.
Yeah, you want to tell them what our topics are today?
We're doing pirates and ninjas.
Yeah, specifically Pirates of the Caribbean or Caribbean, what do you want to call it?
Depending on your dialect.
Because there are so many different pirates out there from so many different cultures.
You said you even found like female pirates.
There's a lot of female pirates. Actually, one of the most successful pirates in the history was actually a female pirate in China.
That's cool, dude.
She at one point I think commanded 1,200 ships.
That's freaking insane.
And was so feared by the Chinese that they just didn't fuck with her.
That's insane.
It's nuts, right?
That's insane.
Oh man. But I mean, do we have anything else we want to say before we start it out?
Of course, we're gonna have like what you playing, what you watching, and
this day in history.
This day in history.
And we're just gonna have fun with it, and I hope you enjoy the episode. And let's get to our first topic, which is pirates.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. We pillage, we plunder, we rifle and loot. Drink up, me hearties, yo ho. We kidnap and ravage and don't give a hoot. Drink up, me hearties, yo ho. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. We extort,
Thank you for that intro. I had to start with drink up me hearties, yo ho. Come on.
That was a good choice, man.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the ride at all.
No.
Just to let you know right away. So I wanted to get into the whole history of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm.
I'll probably switch between the two throughout.
I think it just depends on where you're from.
Yeah, I think of it as the Caribbean though.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get into the whole history of the history of pirates, not the full history, but I'm gonna do a lot of the history of it. I want to preface by saying I got pretty much all this information from a documentary I watched on YouTube that was originally produced by the History Channel. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into the beginnings of piracy.
Piracy.
Yeah, it's kind of where everything began. This is like where really in my research, like everything first started. So 2 years after Columbus landed in the Bahamas, which to him was the New World, and he thought he found India, of course.
That's why they call him Indian.
Well, Columbus was a fucking idiot,
Yes,
but
he was.
that's
a
a
whole
whole
other
other
story.
topic. Watch a what is it? What's that called? Adam Knows Everything. If you want to really know about how
Adam
stupid,
ruins everything.
Yeah, Adam
actually wrote that down for what I'm watching.
Yeah, because Columbus was such a bad guy,
Yeah, dude.
and he was an idiot. But anyway, so after he landed it in the Bahamas, 2 years after, Pope Alexander the Sixth and the Treaty of what is it? Tordesillas grants Spain the right to the Caribbean and most of the New World, and they had no idea at the time like how large like it was. And
like the New World.
Yeah, so this was 1494 was when it was put into place. So for all those years later, for another like 200 years or 100 years, I should say, Spain just started conquering like all the ancient like Aztec and all those cultures along the way because all the gold because they wanted the fortune of those cultures.
That's a lot why in Latin America like, Spanish is the language. Yeah.
So I mean the main time pirates existed was between the 16 or around the 16 and the 1700s.
Mm.
And that whole area where the Spanish conquered was known as the Spanish Main.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I put this down just because I wanted people to know, like from Spain to the New World to the Caribbean, it was it took 6 to 8 weeks
Really?
to get there. And so
people today are fucking spoiled by how quick it is to get to places.
So to kind of start off with where like all these people started coming kind of influxing into the New World, Spain, what they would do was when they'd take all their treasure, they have the ships and everything, but they would leave cattle and pigs on islands when heading back, and they started to flourish.
Yeah.
So
I've heard about this.
So because of that, it would bring like criminals, vagabonds, adventurers from France, England, and Holland. They'd all just come in because it's like what I'd want to say next is what they do is they'd get on ships from those places and they jump ship and they go and live on the islands because they could just hunt this cattle and everything. And it was like very plentiful and they could live like nice little lives.
Not governed by anybody.
Not governed by anybody. And they could just it was a kind of a paradise in a way. So, the next thing I want to talk about is and I'm probably not going to say this wrong, is
just spell it.
It's a French word. Well, I didn't get the right I didn't get the spelling. But Buccaneers, I think is what it is. Like Buccaneers, I think is the best way to put it. Was the French term, and it eventually morphed into the word Buccaneer. So the term Buccaneer originally meant jerky makers. Because what they would do, they learned how from I think the local cultures who were living on the islands, they learned how to like make jerky
using salts and stuff because there was no refrigeration.
So what they do is these guys who are jerky makers, they'd go to and they go into these ports and they would sell their jerky to the ships that were coming in from Spain or wherever else.
I didn't know that. Like we were talking earlier, I was like, "What is a Buccaneer?"
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to learn that it originally meant jerky makers. But the Spanish got worried about
if
them.
you called me a jerky maker, I'd be pissed.
So the Spanish eventually ended up getting worried about them because they would sometimes rob ships that they sold jerky to. Every once in a while, it wasn't often, but they would do it every once in a while. They just go in and they like rob a ship. So in turn, the Spanish started killing off all the cattle and the pigs on the island.
Shit.
Because they just like, well, if these guys don't have the access to these animals,
they're not going to make jerky.
They can't make jerky, in which turn, like all this crime's going to go away. Yeah, that was not a smart idea. And because of this, they had to find another way to survive. And because they hated the Spanish for doing this, they started hunting the Spanish and killing them whenever they could find them. And so
they
actually,
should make some Spanish jerky.
I want to put this right out there. This is the biggest fact: the Spanish are the ones who created the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, booyah!
Boom, and the mic drop.
Mic drop.
So the English and the French were happy to see this happening because it opened up the territory to them, because the Spain controlled everything
right
at the time. So they just couldn't get in there. And so in turn, the next thing I want to go to is a guy named Henry Morgan, who was one of the first pirates.
Okay.
Kind of. He would later be known as the Sword of England and the greatest Buccaneer admiral.
Talk about a cool ass nickname, the Sword of England.
Yeah. But he was sent to the Caribbean to try to kind of fight the Spanish pretty much.
Okay.
So what I got next? But he got that position because he was from a really well connected family. His uncles and cousins and all that. They were really well connected with the English. And I think at that time he went over there.
It's all on who you know.
Yeah, I think at the time he went over there, he was like just a lieutenant.
Okay.
And so one thing I'm gonna start out with is the British tried to take the island of Hispaniola, which later ended up becoming known as Haiti.
Oh.
In 1655, and they lost.
What?
Yeah. So
I didn't know Haiti had a previous name.
Oh yeah. So they lost, and since they couldn't go back home, like after they tried to invade this place, they were like, well, let's go to Jamaica. So they ended up invading Jamaica, and they took it.
Did they get real high? Real high. Sorry.
So they took it and used Port Royal as a base to make money for the crown. And keep in mind, yeah, they took it, but Spain still technically, I guess, owned it, or owned like the whole Caribbean. But the Spanish just didn't see any value really in Jamaica, so they just didn't really care. So from then on, the British start hiring buccaneers to protect Jamaica from the Spanish, and also to take Spanish merchant fleets down.
Oh shit!
Because they'd always be carrying treasure and gold and silver all back to Spain to try to just enrich them. Because that was the whole thing. It was all about that commerce. So what we come to next are people known as privateers, which were private ships fighting for profit. And pretty much what they would do, or what they were like people who were just they were looking to make money.
Mm-hmm.
They were just, but what they were private. What happened was, to become a privateer, you got a license. And it was required to be able to attack the Spanish, and you had to get this from the governor, and it was known as a letter of marque.
Letter of marque. I've heard of that.
It was called a letter of marque, and I want to put it in here too because I'm going to keep up with Morgan a lot more, and I want to put it in 1662. Morgan got his own ship. So anyway, privateers, they'd be able to attack ships during time of war. But everyone would get a cut of what they got. So any person who is on that ship, or you got every person on that ship got a cut. Every person, and the governor got his cut, and then the crown would get their cut.
Okay.
Of what they got off the Spanish. Which is which is something I'm going to keep coming back to, is about how that's really what pirates were like.
I can see that as a theme. Like you said, the Spanish created the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. So I want to say, next, so in January 1668, Jamaica's governor appoints Morgan admiral of the Buccaneers.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and he commands 15. He ends up commanding 15 ships and more than 500 men.
Damn.
And unlike being in the Navy, ships had the right to join in on an attack or in missions, but they didn't have to. They always just volunteer.
Wow.
So Morgan would always go to them and be like, "Hey, do you want to get in on this fight? It might be worth some money to you." But they didn't have to if they're like, "Oh, it's too dangerous. I don't want to risk my men."
Right.
It's like they could just be like,
it wasn't required.
they didn't have to.
Yeah.
So he started doing that, and he started building up a fleet, which was really cool. And I want to say this too. I wrote it down because I was like, I felt it was important to know. Like, don't think he's just some really cool guy because they say he
he's some really cool guy.
because they say when he took like ports or ships, he might have like tortured like men, women, and children. So I just want to put that.
I wish you guys could have seen my face.
Yeah. So in August of 1670, Morgan made a plan to take Bahama.
Okay.
When I think at the time it was just a city,
Okay.
like the city of Bahama. So and it was at the time though it was the second largest city in the New World.
Really?
And a seaport for gold and silver coming from South America. I think the city was actually on the Pacific side.
Mm.
So what they did was they had to go in from the Atlantic side of the ocean and like travel through the jungle to get there. And I'll get to that in a second. So at the time when he was going to take Panama, like he had 36. He ended up having 36 ships and 2,000 Buccaneers. Yeah.
Dude.
And they say only like Morgan could have done that because he just had that much respect.
Well, even today, like military generals and stuff don't command that many people.
Exactly. Well, no, they do. They command more than that.
Not
Military generals.
Not in like specific,
they'll-
not in like specific battalions and stuff like that.
I don't know.
That's just kind of the way I would look at it.
Yeah. So they end up having to spend 9 days marching through the country to get to the Pacific. Yeah, 9 days, and he had 2,000 guys with him just to get there. So in 1671, they made it to the end of the city and started fighting and easily like just go through the Spanish. Like they're like no fight. But apparently, like Panama didn't have much of a take because there was a Spanish treasure galleon that ended up taking like they ended up taking most of the wealth and just taking it out of the city when they knew they were attacking. So they didn't really get anything off of it.
That's a smart move, though.
Yeah. So in the end, like no one made very much, which was kind of like, what the fuck, dude? We came and invaded this island or this city, and we didn't get shit out of it.
Yeah.
And there was a rumor that got started that Morgan took more than his share, but most historians don't believe that he did, because that's one of the big things with pirates and buccaneers is everyone gets their fair share.
Right.
No matter who you are, you get your fair share of the take.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's actually the next thing I've written down is that the biggest thing to realize about pirates is that everyone always gets their fair share.
Mm.
That's something I really didn't know about. Like you always think of like people being on a ship with a captain, and the captain's always the one who gets the most out of it, and he'll just kind of give
Dole
whatever
it out.
to the other crew members. It's like no.
Well, I'm a really big fan of the show Black Sails,
Mhm.
and they actually talk about that a lot.
Really?
Like the specific like crew members, like we haven't been paid and.
Well, that's something I'm going to get into more a little later. And it was a really interesting fact. But anyway, to continue on with Morgan. So in 1672, Morgan is summoned back to England to face charges of piracy.
Oh.
Yeah, the king summoned him back. But he actually ended up knighting him and making him lieutenant governor of Jamaica. And he ended up dying in 1688 at the age of 53, but he died peacefully.
Oh, that's cool though. That's cool.
And
could you imagine living on the ocean back in those days, dude?
Oh my God!
Wow. Like losing a leg and then having to wear a peg leg, or losing a hand and having. That's just like the classic things.
But it's like it was so open back then because it's like being a pirate was like, hey, I can go and like raid ships and have fun and I get a cut of the booty,
the booty,
and you can kind of just do your own thing, but it's like sanctioned by like England.
That's fucking wild, man.
All you gotta do is go get a license and you can fucking do
Be
it.
a pirate.
And then just make sure you're paying off the governor. Like,
right.
Make sure everyone's getting their share. Otherwise, you are fucked.
Yeah, that's when they start hanging you and cutting your head off.
Exactly.
Like
so next thing I'm gonna get on to, I'm gonna do a little time jump, about a little over 25 years. So on September 7th, 1701. Spain, France, England, and Holland like end up waging war on each other for supremacy of like the Caribbean, and this was known as Queen Anne's War.
Okay.
Yeah, And we'll get back to that name a little bit when I do my next thing. The war ended up lasting 12 years, and on April 11th, 1713, the Treaty of Urich ended the war. The thing was that happened was the Spanish finally agreed that England and Holland had a right to do trade. And I thought I actually wrote down, maybe I didn't. Anyway, because it was actually England and Holland were the ones they were the ones fighting. They were fighting France and Spain. So it was kind of all, like I said, it was all out war. But after the war ended, like trade boomed. Like everyone was like just making money like hand over fist.
Yeah.
So it was like that whole area was like doing really, really well. But the only people that lost out were the privateers. And it was like 40,000 English sailors suddenly out of a job, and they didn't know how to do anything other than fight. And what they used to do is now illegal and punishable by death.
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine being in a job where like you had this fucking awesome life where like I can just go on the sea on this boat and fucking just start capturing ships and taking their shit.
It'd be like me, like all of a sudden if being a chef became illegal.
Yeah. But what these guys would do is anytime, and people think about like, oh, they take their treasure and bury it. That's total bullshit, by the way. What they would do is pretty much anytime they get money, they just go out and spend it and blow it on booze and women and whatever.
Well,
like jewelry.
Something you mentioned earlier is like a lot of stuff they took, like it would do no good being buried in the ground.
No, because they wouldn't do it because they always just wanted to spend what they got.
Yeah.
So on July 24th, 1715, Spanish treasure ships set sail from Cuba to Spain. But after 6 days of setting sail, they ran into a hurricane.
Dang.
Yeah, this is more leading into where what we think of as pirates coming from. You know, I'm putting a lot of backstory in because I want to give a full history of this.
Yeah.
So the ship ended up wrecking off the coast of Florida, spilling millions of dollars of silver on the seabed. And the Spanish said it was still theirs, even if it was under the water.
So is that what you would refer to as a doubloon?
Maybe.
It might be.
I don't know.
It might be.
I didn't like
Spanish
I
doubloon.
didn't look into it.
Like Spanish doubloons are like those. A lot of times those coins they find like in.
Well, there's always those stories of like those old shipwrecks full of Spanish doubloons.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
So that's where my mind goes.
So the wealth attracted pirates to the area to fight the Spanish to recover the treasure, and most of the silver was actually recovered, but they didn't have enough ships to bring it all back. So leaving like $350,000 silver coins and a small shaft on the shore with about 60 guards to protect it. So in 1716, like word reached out to all the privateers about the silver, and this guy named Henry Jennings and 300 ex-privateers launched a raid to get it. Yeah, he's really what you would probably call like the first pirate.
Yeah.
The guy before was like he was the Buccaneer admiral, like. You know, he was the guy who like made shit happen. Mm-hmm. But this guy is the one who probably is like one of the very first pirates. So as soon as these guys got to shore and started fighting the guards, the guards just immediately they just ran into the jungle. Like, fuck this. Even though they were like sworn to protect the crown and all that. And actually these pirates, they made the equivalent of 10 years salary in one night.
Wow.
And that's kind of like the pirate's dream.
Yeah, right.
It's like, hey, I just made fucking enough money to last the next 10 years.
I don't have to do shit.
And of course, like I said, all those guys get a share. Everyone gets that equal share. So, but when they got to Jamaica, they were told that if they stepped foot on land, they'd be arrested. So
Really?
the English were like, yeah, this shit's illegal. Like, you can't come here.
Yeah.
So, so they end up settling on an island called New Providence and in the city of Nassau.
Oh, okay.
And that became like a pirate haven. That's where like all the pirates would go, and like they spend their money and everything. And so by 1717, more than 2,000 pirates made their home in the Caribbean.
Okay.
And that's actually where I wanted to stop with my kind of history. I could have gone a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that's where I kind of
really
wanted to stop. That gave like a really like kind of basic history of kind of where pirates began, or like the beginnings of pirates or piracy and pirates, and where they kind of where piracy and pirates like first really began.
Yeah.
That's really what I wanted to cover.
That was really good though. That was really
good.
I'm
not going into like the endings of pirates or anything.
Yeah.
But you know, you can find it on your own. Maybe eventually I'll get into that. But I thought I wanted to really preference.
That was definitely
stuff.
interesting. It was definitely interesting.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
You got any questions or anything?
Well, like in my mind, I picture all this like, you know, you think of like Captain Hook, or you know, like you think about like this classic pirate, and like I wonder how many of them were that actual like classic like cinematic pirate, like fucking Johnny Depp. You know what I mean? Like the whole wearing wearing the tricorder hat and like a patch over one eye. And,
Well, I think a lot of
flying the Jolly Roger.
a lot of pirates, honestly, they kind of did it for the thrill of it. I think there are cases out there where people just there are actually cases of female pirates where they just did it because they wanted the adventure and it was fun.
And I could see that.
Or even just regular guys that were like, well off. Like I remember hearing a story of one guy who was married to, I think it was Anne Bonny, who was a very famous female pirate, and he honestly did it. I think he was actually pretty well off, or no, I think she was well off. But she just wanted a kind of more adventure in her life.
Well, and actually, like just through watching YouTube videos yesterday, I saw something called land sickness. Did you come across that?
No.
Land sickness is like actually sailors today get it because you hear about seasickness.
Yeah.
And you're on the ocean so much, because the whole thing about seasickness is the horizon going up and down. But if you get so used to being on a boat to this is what your brain is acclimated for.
Yeah.
When you're on land, you get land sickness where you get like dizzy and shit like that because like the horizon's not doing this common like up and down up and down.
Okay.
It's a thing. It's really weird.
Would you have wanted to be a pirate back then?
No. Sharks.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Fuck sharks.
You hate the water.
Dude, like you could not have gotten me on a fucking boat. Like right now you can't get me on a boat.
Yeah.
But maybe back then, like if I was brought up differently and didn't like absorb the media that I've had at this point, like Jaws and shit like that.
Well, it was kind of seen as like a decent way to make a living in a way.
Yeah.
But you dealt with a lot of bad shit. Like,
well, most of those guys were out at sea like 99% of their life.
oh yeah,
like they call them land lovers because like we live on a boat. Fuck these people.
exactly.
They're fucking land lovers. You lily land lovers. Like I actually watched some YouTube stuff, so I'd actually have a couple things to say.
Yeah.
So and then you get into like scurvy and shit like that, man.
Oh yeah.
No thanks, man.
Because you get scurvy from not eating like fruit or vegetables.
Yeah, well,
right?
like I was looking at like pirate slang, like a bilge-rat.
Yeah.
A bilge-rat's somebody that stole from you.
Really?
Yeah, like if somebody is a bilge-rat, that's somebody that like stole from that's something that belongs to you. And like walking the plank wasn't really a thing.
Isn't that a myth?
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing.
That's kind of something that was Hollywoodized.
Yeah, because what they wouldn't make you walk the plank, they just fucking throw you overboard.
Yeah.
They just grab you and throw you overboard.
Yeah. You're like, fuck off.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to check out bilge-rat is because my grandpa was from Ireland, and he used to always call people a bilge-rat prick.
That's a good
Yeah,
that's a good insult,
Yeah,
man.
you call somebody a bilge-rat prick.
Let's bring it back.
So,
You bilge rat prick.
yeah, so and
Like, what'd you just call me?
yeah, and the one thing I wanted to mention, there was actually a lot of Irish pirates.
Yeah.
there actually really was.
We should do that maybe in the future.
I can do
this
Irish
is such a
pirates.
big subject
Yeah,
that I had to focus on one specific
yeah.
pirate. And I figure Pirates of the Caribbean, that's one everybody knows, but I would love to hear about your take on Irish pirates.
Well, you think about it, Ireland is this little, basically an island.
Yeah.
It's, so all of their, especially back in like the 1700s, a lot of their income came from the water.
Yeah.
Came from being out at sea. So there was a lot, like I mentioned earlier, like they call them shanties. That's an Irish thing. Sea shanties is like, that's where that kind of started.
Really?
Yeah, like, hey ho, when up she rises. Hey ho, when up she rises.
Well, another pirate topic I would love to talk about one time is I want to say it was Jefferson had a pirate army at one point. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it was a really interesting story.
Or what you gonna do with a drunken sailor? Sorry, that's just still in my mind. But what you got next, brother?
So next thing I wanted to do a famous pirate, and honestly,
I'm excited for this.
I wanted to do like 3 of them, but I kind of did. I did the first one with what was it? Henry Morgan.
Yeah.
And then I did a little bit on the other guy.
Henry Morgan was cool. I didn't know.
What was the other guy? I already forgot his name. I just mentioned it was like the first pirate. Like, wow.
What was his name?
Let me find it real quick. I gotta flip back through my notes. It was Henry Jennings.
Oh, okay.
Henry Jennings. And it's cool. Like, one thing about going through this stuff was like watching the documentaries. They were really good on dates.
Yeah.
So the next one I want to do, and the most famous probably of all pirates, which everyone knows about, is a guy named Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard.
Booyah! Fucking OG original gangster.
Oh yeah.
Original gangster.
And actually, that Edward Teach was an alias. They don't really know what his real name was.
There would really be no real name to know who he did, like records in those days, and especially
they actually did keep pretty good records.
But like if you took your life into piracy and went out onto the ocean, nobody's gonna really know who you could tell. You could be like, yeah, my name's my name's Tinkerbell. You know, and like,
Well, actually, I want to say like the first actually mention of him showing up in a historical record is in 1717,
okay,
and he was actually an ex-privateer.
that makes sense.
But he was a pretty menacing guy because he was 6'4".
dude,
Yeah.
6'4".
Yeah, and another reason he was menacing was because he used to keep what was called slow match, which was a burning rope used to light cannons.
I know exactly what you're talking
like
about.
a slow burning rope.
They call it char cloth as well.
Yeah, and what he would do is he'd light it when they were fighting someone, so it looked like smoke was going around his face. So as I love this line, so he'd look like the devil himself.
That's badass.
So people would just be freaked out, like they're smoking out of this guy, like he's a fucking demon, man.
That's fucking badass.
So they
dude.
just freak out about this guy and fucking Blackbeard. Or Blackbeard. Blackbeard. Sorry.
Depending on your accent, it was correct.
Yeah. So at one point he ended up capturing a ship, and he ended up I forgot the name of the ship, but he captured the ship from somebody and he renamed it the Queen Anne's Revenge. And it was probably after the war. And that was one thing I didn't know about, was because it was called the Queen Anne's War.
Okay.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
But he called it the Queen Anne's Revenge.
That's
because it was, and I'm kind of thinking about this now, which I wasn't thinking about at the time. It was like it was like their revenge for like fucking over all the privateers.
That's badass, dude.
So
That's fucking cool, man.
And the thing was,
I bet he smelled real good.
are you kidding me? Those guys, they're going like fucking months without bathing.
If
They
ever.
smelled horrible. And they were drinking rum and everything. Yeah, it was not fun, I'm sure. So he had 40 cannons on this ship.
Dude.
40.
So would that be 20 on each side?
I guess. But I guess when these cannons would fire, they'd actually like shake the sea, kind of thing.
I believe it. I believe it.
And you probably have to have like wax in your ears. That's one thing actually with the pirate earrings, was they would put wax on, they'd attach wax to the earrings, and whenever they'd be going into like battle, they'd take the wax off the earrings and they put it in their ears to protect their hearing.
That's fucking smart. That's fucking way smart.
Yeah. So he ended up he ruled through intimidation, because he was such a menacing fucking guy.
Yeah.
But the one thing that kind of set him apart from everybody else was he knew how to read and write.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Which is probably something that was rare at the time.
Yeah.
So between November 1717 and May 1718, he captured between 16 to 20 ships.
What did he do with the ships?
Did
he just ransack them?
It just
and
says
then
he
leave?
captured him. I think he might have taken a few for himself and used them and put them kind of in his like armada,
like a fleet.
Yeah, but he probably mostly like captured these ships and just kind of maybe let them go after he got what he wanted.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly. But here's one of the most interesting things. So in 1718, he ended up attacking Charlestown, South Carolina.
Really?
Yeah, he was that bold.
Whoa.
And he set up a blockade, and so anyone going in or out was immediately captured. He robbed some of them and took hostages off of others, and several of them were like nobles, and he asked for a ransom. And because at that time there were still like kind of British nobles who were living in the.
Do you mind if I interject real quick?
Yeah.
There's something in my mind that I have to. One of the things you're familiar with the show The Dollop?
Yeah.
They were talking about one episode maybe about a year ago. One thing that used to actually happen a lot in like the late 1700s, early 1800s, pirates, or I guess pirates would be the word.
Mm-hmm.
In the Americas, they would be on shore and they would drug somebody in a bar.
Yeah.
And then take them onto their ship, and they were indentured servants.
Well, that's where you get the idea of Shanghaiing.
That's actually what that's called. Yep.
Yeah, they do it in San Francisco.
Yep.
And
that's exactly. I didn't mean to derail, but
you make a good point about
yeah.
pirates. Yeah, that was definitely something pirates would do.
You were forced.
Yeah, you were Shanghai in the sense of Shanghai and became an indentured servant.
Yeah. I apologize.
No, that was actually a cool point to make about pirates.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about pirates. You might as well talk
Well, I just, like I said, didn't want to interrupt.
about something like that. No, definitely. So the governor of Charlestown, he refused to pay. He refused to pay the ransom, and even actually, I think one of his his sons or one of his family members were in that group of people.
Really?
And he's just like, nah, fuck you, I'm not going to pay you. But instead, he sent a chest of medical supplies. Because they apparently, they get all these diseases from all the horrors and everything and whatever else ailments they might have had from the sea,
you can only
scurvy and all that. And as and what happened was because it took him an extra day to send him these supplies. He sent the people who brought the supplies back naked.
What?
That was the thing. I had to write that down.
That's kind of a fuck you.
I was like, that's pretty boss. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna send you guys back naked.
That's funny. I'm gonna take your clothes.
Yeah.
Go get sunburn.
So, but so anyway, after that, I don't know what happened to those prisoners. Maybe he let them go. Maybe he didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in June of 1718, he ended up taking his ships to. He directed his ships to a place called Beaufort, South Carolina. So right up the way. But in a shallow channel called Topsail Inlet, the Queen Anne's Revenge ended up bottoming out.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good. You really can't recover from that most of the time.
So he ended up unloading his cargo onto another ship he had, and he ended up stranding all but like his most trusted men on a sandbar, which is something pirates did not do.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They was all about like, kind of.
Well, it was honor among thieves.
Yeah, pretty much. So from there, he ended up heading north to Ocracoke Island, which I might be saying wrong. It's Ocracoce.
Okay.
And some thought he went there to retire. Others, he thought he went there to start a new base. But on November 22nd, 1718, Blackbeard, sailed out to fight two British ships. But he was outnumbered 2 ships to 1, 60 against 19. He had 8 cannons on his ship, and the other ships only had small arms. So he had a benefit right there. He knew the waters like so well that he made one of the ships run aground because it was too heavy.
That's dope.
Yeah, because he knew like where to kind of position them, and the ship he was on was really light at the time. Mm-hmm. That was one thing. I'm sure if the Queen Anne's Revenge was still around there, he probably would have had the same thing happen to him. And but this British commander named Maynard, he just wouldn't give up. He's like, I gotta fucking capture Blackbeard. I gotta get him. I gotta kill this guy. He's terrorizing this place. So so in this fight, at one point, Blackbeard boarded his ship because no one appeared to be left alive on the ship. But little you know, it was a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
How can you ever say it's a trap without referring back to Star Wars?
Too bad Admiral Akbar was not on that boat.
Yeah. So and I want to preface by saying Blackbeard was actually a little drunk from the night before off a rum. But anyway, Maynard and Blackbeard each fired at each other. He fired their pistols at each other, and Blackbeard missed because he was drunk, probably a little hungover from the day before. In fact, he did drink some when the battle started. He had he's like, give me some rum.
Yeah.
But Maynard ended up hitting him, but it didn't slow him down. Yeah, Blackbeard was like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna keep going."
I'm a 6'4" pirate, bitch.
Yeah, with smoke coming off my beard. Pretty. I mean, if you saw that guy in front of you, you'd be like, "Whoa, shit."
Yeah.
But this guy was obviously not afraid, and he wanted to take him down. So he was fighting Maynard and ended up breaking off his cutlass. And just as he was about to kill him, one of Maynard's men like came from behind and hit Blackbeard in the neck with his blade.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So true pirate's way to go.
Fuck yeah, dude. Davy Jones' locker.
So after Blackbeard died, Maynard cut his head off and threw his body in the water. Which apparently there's some legend like his body swam around in the ship like 3 times.
Oh god.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that in there.
That's cool though.
But he ended up hanging his head off of his bow.
That's dope. That's dope.
Can you imagine being the guy who killed Blackbeard?
Right. Well, like a random soldier got to do that.
Just some random dude. Just like, I think the guy was a lieutenant.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Who would you say that? Like, so I know you did a lot of research.
In fact, yeah, I think I did put down he was a lieutenant. Or no, I said British commander, but I think he was a lower rank guy.
So, like, out of all your research, do you think like Blackbeard would be like one of the most iconic pirates of all time?
Oh, definitely, dude.
Yeah.
You think of pirates, you think of Blackbeard. I think they even put him in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Well, definitely. And I was trying to remember what like Davy Jones's locker was, because that's like I said, I went out of my way to kind of like listen to like slang.
Yeah.
But Davy Jones' locker basically just means drowning.
Okay.
It's I think there was a ship called Davy Jones, and it was lost at sea. That's because I literally just watched a YouTube video called Pirate Slang.
And I want to say again, he had the most badass name for a ship, which was the Queen Anne's Revenge.
That's right.
If anybody out there gets a chance, like Flogging Molly did a great song called Queen Anne's Revenge.
We almost used that instead of A Pirate's Life for Me.
But you got to use Pirate's Life for Me. So
actually, that song is actually called Yo Ho.
Oh, okay.
Yo Ho.
And it is actually a good ride.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to get in some kind of little facts about pirates to kind of get through the end of the segment. So these were some actually really interesting facts to me.
I was listening to you and you're writing them down.
But this is what I'm going to throw at you that you're not going to know about. So at any point with pirates, like a crew can call a council of war and vote out the captain if they're unhappy.
That's mutiny.
And the captain would be powerless to stop it.
Really?
It wasn't mutiny.
No?
It was like, I'm sorry. But because the captain, he only had true power in times of battle. Like at that, when you're in battle, the captain was like absolute. Like
Okay.
You listen to everything he says. But for the rest of the time, the ship ran on the consent of the crew. Like if they wanted to, they wanted to go somewhere, they'd have to vote on it, and it was actually considered like the first pure democracy, in the New World.
That makes sense.
And this is back in 1700s.
Are you familiar with the phrase parlay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention that.
No, I didn't even think about it. Actually, this is the first time I'm really thinking about parlay.
Yeah.
But the pirates kind of had a code in that way. But it was like it was a democracy.
Well,
it's like the it's think of the captain as like the president, and the crew members as kind of like
the citizens.
The citizens, and the citizens could vote if they wanted to go somewhere or not. And the captain had to listen to it. Otherwise, they'd vote his ass out. And there are times where there'd be 12 times in 2 years that a captain would get voted out of a ship.
I believe it.
It was that crazy, but it could happen. So you had to be a good captain. If you were a shitty captain, they'd be like, "We're gonna vote your ass out. You're not gonna be captain anymore."
You've been voted off the island.
Yeah. So next thing I want to say, and this is always kind of fun to me, is pirates were the first mixologists.
I saw that. Yeah.
So in the 1600s, British soldiers invented a drink called grog, and it was a mixture of rum and water, and it was to keep the water from getting slimy. A certain amount of time, water's just kind of gonna get that way. But pirates kind of amped that shit up, and they added lemon juice to prevent scurvy and sugar to make it taste better. So it was like sugar,
lemon juice, and rum.
So it was rum, water, lemon juice, and sugar.
Imagine drinking that shit all day.
Oof.
On a swaying boat.
But it was the way they stayed hydrated and kept from getting scurvy. Because they weren't eating a bunch of fruits and vegetables. It was hard then.
Yeah.
You know what? They're gonna get some coconuts or something, or some pineapples.
Yeah, you're not gonna get the vitamins from a coconut.
Exactly. So another little fun fact I got is pirates didn't wear eye patches because they were missing an eye.
Yeah.
What would happen was they'd put it on them because they'd be on deck and they'd go, say for instance
to go on
say that for instance they if you're just don't have an eye patch on and you go from the deck, which is really sunny, to below, and your eyes have to adjust.
Right.
And so it's kind of hard. So when they were fighting a battle, they'd have an eye patch on. So as soon as they go below deck, they could just move the eye patch over.
And it's already dark acclimated.
And it was already acclimated to the dark.
That's awesome, dude. Talk about ingenuity.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. You did that out of necessity.
Exactly.
You would walk around all day with one eye just so you could go.
Well, I think they would only do it when they were going into battle.
Or
maybe
right.
the day they were going into battle, something like that. They just do that. So if they had to go underneath to attack somebody, they weren't just kind of blinded, which is smart though.
It is. It's
good. It's a good tactic. And pirates were kind of ingenious in that way.
Have one daylight eye and one nighttime eye.
Exactly. So another thing I got is pirates. They wore earrings to finance their burials. And so when they died, their earrings would be melted down to pay for their expenses. But and when they wanted to be buried in a specific place, a bay or a city or something, they'd have the place engraved on their earrings.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of like and the pirates, if a pirate ended up dying at sea and the body washed up on shore, the pirates that found them would honor those wishes.
Yeah, because it's Pirates Code.
Yeah,
Pirates Code. That's cool, man.
Yeah, another really crazy one is so the blood red flag was the most feared, and it was called Bloody Red, and it meant if this ship was attacking you and they were flying at the Bloody Red, you were fucking dead, because they would show no quarter.
Yeah,
and they would be so people would just jump off these ships. They were so frightened because they knew if they got on there and they found them, they were fucking dead.
Yeah.
And then one of the last things I want to finish with is, and this is I thought a really good one to finish on, was pirates practice gay marriage.
You said that to me when you were writing it down, and I'm like, well, Okay.
Yeah.
It's just like prison, a bunch of dudes together for a long amount of time.
Kind of. But it goes back as far as 1600.
Really?
And it was called matelage, is what it was. And these guys, so they would get married to each other. Because they would be on sea for months on end, so they just kind of end up hooking up. But they weren't, they'd have times where like they'd be together and they'd be like they'd have matelage, but they'd still they'd go and like fuck the same whore.
Right.
To put it a very
put it bluntly.
Yeah, to put it bluntly. But that's what they would do. They're like, okay, they might still sleep with each other, but they'll like go and like when they have the opportunity, like, okay, let's go, sleep with this woman. Anyway, but yeah, they when they got married, they shared everything. Like any little bit of like, plunder they would get, they'd share it.
That's crazy.
And even if one of them ended up dying, the other pirate would end up receiving death benefits for that person.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy shit, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. It's actually, now that I think about it, it's like gay rights before
gay rights.
Hundreds of years before gay rights.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
That was really good, man.
Big up to pirates for being so like that.
Big ups to pirates. Not the Somalian pirates, but big up to pirates.
They're very accepting of one another, you would think.
Yeah.
Like, you look at that with pirates. Yeah, they were very accepting of one another. They treated each other with respect.
Yeah.
And when you think of pirates, you think of they're just all these assholes.
Yeah.
And kind of reading and looking into all this stuff, they really weren't that way. I mean,
No.
Blackbeard, of course, at the end was like kind of like, fuck you guys.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, pirates are very democratic. They treated each other with respect. Even like, when they died and with the earrings, they wouldn't just take these earrings and be like, fuck this guy.
Well, I'm sure it
I'm sure it
happened.
I was about to say, I'm sure it happened. But for most of the time, they would kind of respect these people and be like, okay, this guy had, I'm going to take the gold and get this guy a proper burial because that's what he wanted. Because that's what I would want. So they treated each other with respect.
Well, it's like I said earlier, it's honor among thieves.
And I could be getting some of this wrong for anybody out there who's like
We're not
super
scholars.
into pirates.
We're not scholars.
But honestly, like anybody out there who's listening, I hope you enjoyed what I had to put out there for it.
I definitely did myself, dude. Like sitting here, like I chimed in a lot.
I normally don't do research. Keith is normally a research guy, but I mean,
I'm
glad you enjoyed what I did.
And I feel bad because I put in like I did some solid research for Ninja, which I'll cite all my stuff when I do that.
Yeah.
But for Ninja, I grew up in the world of martial arts.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be for me it feels a little bit more just off the cuff because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that was really good, man. I really enjoyed that.
That was a cool experience for me.
Yeah, it was.
To go from
because that's what I've been doing for a while.
Yeah.
So
hopefully I didn't sound robotic.
no, dude, you sounded great. You sounded great. So you want to get into what you're playing, what you're watching?
Yeah, let's get into that next.
Okay.
So Keith, what you playing? What you watching?
So I just finished the most recent season of F is for Family.
Okay. I love that show.
I fucking love that show, dude. That show makes me laugh so hard, man.
Oh, Bill Burr is fucking awesome. That show,
so
man.
great,
It's
man.
so good.
Yeah, like my favorite episode on the second season is when they have a block party.
Oh yeah.
Have you watched it yet?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like he's got his new neighbor is like this fighter pilot. And
Yeah,
stuff.
played by Vince Vaughn.
Is that Vince Vaughn? Oh
That's
my
Vince
god,
Vaughn.
that makes sense now.
He actually executive produces that show.
Ah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And after that, I just I'm caught up on The Rookie.
Yeah.
I mention that show pretty frequently
Every week.
but it's so good, dude. if you're a Nathan Fillion fan, it blows Castle out of the water.
Okay.
It just blows Castle out of the water. Like
Nothing will ever beat Firefly though.
Well, that's why I love Nathan Fillion. But like, to be perfectly frank with the listeners, I was watching this recent episode and I teared up.
Oh God.
Yeah. I was like sitting on the couch. I was like,
he's one of those guys that like, how can you not love that guy?
dude, fuck, dude. He's a big dude too.
Yeah.
I met him at a Comic-Con a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
And if I
Looks like a big old teddy bear.
yeah, if I had to venture a guess, I bet he's like 6'2", 6'3".
Wow.
Because I'm 6 foot and he was taller than me.
He's a pretty like well built guy too.
he's a
not
big
like
guy.
not like you'd say like he's just a good size, like kind of he's like a man, like that kind of like old school like Charles Atlas type guy.
Yeah. Well, and the other one you kind of mentioned earlier, been watching Adam Ruins Everything, and that guy, what's the guy's last name?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it Richmond? Is it Adam?
Yeah,
Richmond?
I think it is.
Like
Yeah.
he's very articulate.
Oh, very much so.
I think he excuse me, sorry. I think he does a real good job of like I'm sure all of his stuff is written out for him.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's super written,
But
like, out,
he's
researched.
he's
but they
got
do
a-
an amazing job of researching.
Yes, they really do. And like if I was capable of that type of research, I'd be fucking.
You are, man.
Yeah, well, appreciate that.
Yeah.
But and in ending what I'm watching, my new favorite show on YouTube is called Something's Burning.
Ah.
Have you seen that
No.
yet? Do you know who Bert Kreischer is?
Yeah.
He has a.
He's the guy who has his shirt off all the time, right?
Yeah, he's got a cooking show.
Oh
dude.
yeah, I saw that. I didn't see the show, but I saw a little thing for it on YouTube.
Yeah. He's his most recent episode is Theo Vaughn and Anthony Santo.
Yeah.
And they make it, the whole thing is it's just comedians hanging out together, drinking and cooking.
Nice.
And it's so fun, dude. and the funny thing is they actually like put the ingredients like on the screen of like what, because he goes by a recipe, and they actually do end up making this food.
Nice.
But it's these fucking 2 to 3 to 4 comedians just being dipshits, fucking up and like, oh, I didn't know I put the wrong. But it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
But what are you playing? What you watching?
Well, I wanted to mention one thing before we quit, which was just because you're a huge Spider-Man fan. I mentioned the new Spider-Man trailer.
Oh,
we got rid of what's new because everyone else fucking does that. But I wanted to talk about the new Spider-Man trailer.
I really enjoyed the imagery of the movie, of the trailer. Of course, they didn't explain how he came back from being disintegrated.
That's not going to happen until the movie.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really cool premise, and then seeing Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I liked it, dude.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm fucking take my money. I'm on board.
I watched a video from Looper about stuff you missed in the trailer, and they actually put a lot into they just show this was an Easter egg, and this was an Easter egg, and this was an Easter egg. It was really cool.
Well, I really thought it was cool that Nick Fury, one of the things in the trailer is Peter comes into his hotel room.
Yeah.
And Nick Fury sitting there, he's like, "Hello, Spider-Man."
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" Because in the comic book, he becomes an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And one of our it's next week.
What?
Next week we're doing Spider-Man.
Yeah, and we're doing Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, their relationship, or it's not Steve, Jack Kirby. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, their relationship in Spider-Man.
And that's gonna be all the research on that episode is gonna be for me because I personally asked for that to be mine.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be really good. But I'm just so anything Spider-Man, dude, give it to me.
I'm looking forward to hearing
it. Well, dude, I could put all my papers down right now and just blah 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 Spider-Man blah 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 Peter Parker blah blah blah. So that would be no problem for me, man.
Yeah.
So what are you watching, man?
So the past week, I always have a lot. So I watched The Dirty Dozen again.
Oh,
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Good movie.
Yeah, really good movie. And I want to say all this stuff I watched on Netflix that I'm going to mention. But The Dirty Dozen, yeah, fucking great film. Great cast, man.
Yeah.
Charles Bronson is dope as shit in that.
Yeah. Every time I hear the name Charles Bronson, I think of the serial killer named Charles Bronson. That's just where my brain is.
Yeah. Pretty much the whole premise is this guy comes in. I think it was Lee Marvin. He comes in and he has to take over a regime of rejects, prisoners who are pretty much subject or sentenced to death. And he has to turn them into kind of an elite fighting unit to go in and be a covert team to to try to I don't know, kill Nazis pretty much.
Kill Nazis.
Yeah,
we can say that hashtag kill Nazis.
Yeah, but good fucking film. I think it's from the 60s.
It would
early
have to be.
60s.
It would have to be. Yeah.
So the next one I got is I watched the new Godzilla anime.
I haven't watched it yet. How was that?
It was good. I mean, I've liked all three of them. I liked the ending of it because I felt it was good the way they ended it. But it's just kind of cool to see that it's nice to see something new from some new Godzilla content out there. And I really, really wish Netflix would get the rights to put all those old Godzilla films on there. I'd love that so much. I don't think it'll happen, but I'd love to see it.
The OG Godzilla is some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah, it probably cost Netflix a shit ton of money to get the rights to all those Godzilla films, but I fucking love it. And hopefully, Netflix keeps putting out more Godzilla stuff, but we'll wait and see. And then the other new thing I watched is the new series, Sex Education. Yeah, it's starring Asa Butterfield from Ender's Game. And Gillian Anderson. And come on, Gillian Anderson is so fucking hot.
Been right up there with Carrie Fisher for me.
Oh, totally, dude. She has great hair, by the way.
Yeah.
She totally rocks that.
She's a ginger brother.
Yeah, she rocks that gray hair, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. That's probably hot as fuck. Oh, yeah.
But she plays a sex therapist, and she's super open with her son about being that way and sex and masturbation and everything. And then her son, he goes to high school and he's super awkward teenager and is kind of always a little standoffish about sex. He's this thing about him, but he ends up becoming a sex therapist for teenagers with this other girl who he's into.
Wow.
And it's a really cool series. It's 8 episodes, but I really enjoyed it.
What was that show that we talked about a while back that had the redhead girl that became a model? What was that? Insatiable?
Yeah.
Did you ever finish that?
Yeah.
I never did.
Well, that was well, I watched that show because
That's
I was
fucking
like,
out of left field.
I kind of started hating. Like I was honestly like, it was bad, but it was like kind of so bad it was like good to me.
Right.
And it is a bad show because it's like such a fucking train wreck. That whole show is such a train wreck. And they actually end up getting a second season, but I want to keep watching it to see how crazy
bad it really gets.
It gets. It's just so fucking nuts. That like I said, it's just so bad. Like I just kind of like it that I just kind of have to keep watching because it's such a train wreck. Because they just don't know what they want to do with the show.
Right. There's
the writers just have no idea where they're going. It's fucking insane. But anyway, so the next thing I watched was Friends from College.
I've never heard of that.
It's got like Keegan-Michael Key's in it and like who else? Fred Savage.
Okay.
Is it Fred Savage? The older Savage.
I don't know.
Oh, anyway.
I don't know.
Or yeah, it was Fred. I think it was Fred Savage. Anyway, and then like a couple of the bigger, kind of more well-known stars. But anyway, like I started watching it, and I watched the first season. I was just kind of like, this is like okay, but I was like, I'd watch the second season just to kind of see where this goes. But I was watching the whole series, and like these people are like really well off, like middle class people with like these problems, and they're all kind of like like dating in their ways and like sleeping with each other, and it's fucking nuts. But it's like these people are like, it's like rich people problems. That's pretty much the way it's like, don't these people fucking work at all or like anything? And these people are so horrible. They're such shitty fucking people. And in a way, I was kind of hate watching it, but I do love Keegan-Michael Key. So it's like I kept watching it, but I was like, oh my God, this is bad, but not so bad it's good, but it was like kind of like I just kind of kept watching it.
The other one I have to interject there. Yeah. I've been following The Masked Singer, like we told.
Yeah.
So this last week, fucking Tommy Chong was the one that was unmasked.
Fucking Tommy Chong's yeah. Okay. See, other stuff I watched was watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, dude.
Which is so different from any of the Indiana Jones movies. Yeah. It's fucking crazy, dude.
It's violent as fuck.
Well, that's, I think, one of the movies that was the reason that PG-13 rating came into effect. Yeah. Because when fucking dude's pulling a heart out of the guy's chest.
Kalima. That's good stuff.
I enjoyed it more than like because that's always been my least favorite of the
What?
Indiana Jones movies.
What?
It really has.
Actually, my personal favorite.
But besides Crystal Skull,
my personal favorite's Last Crusade.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite too.
Yeah,
I'd go Last Crusade, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and then of course Crystal Skull. I still need to hate watch Crystal Skull.
It's on Netflix now.
Yeah, I need to hate watch it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hate watch it at some point.
That's the thing, dude? Hate watching.
Yeah,
that's definitely.
And then I watched the movie called The Last Laugh. With it had Chevy Chase and Richard Dreyfuss. And by the way, Richard Dreyfuss is looking really old now.
Oh, he's got to be like.
But it's cool to see him in a movie again. But it's about like this guy who like
we need a bigger.
He was a comedian in like the '60s, and Chevy Chase represented him. But he all of a sudden just like stopped.
Yeah.
And it's like he like kind of does a comeback. Like Chevy Chase is like, no, we should get you back out on the road and doing shows again. And his whole thing was like, I want to get you on the Tonight Show. And so they kind of go on tour, and it's like kind of about them like kind of being older and all that. It was a cool little film.
I've been watching.
Actually, I enjoyed it. And Chevy Chase was totally on in that film.
Dude, Chevy Chase has always been.
He's always really funny. So it was cool
Chase.
to see Chevy Chase in a movie again. Honestly.
So we're gonna cover this topic in the future, but I have to ask your favorite stand-up comedian of all time. Ooh. I already know the answer, but the listeners might not.
Well, for you, it's probably Mitch Hedberg.
It's absolutely 100% Mitch Hedberg.
I couldn't really say my favorite. I know one of my favorites right now, though, would definitely have to be Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries is. Oh, he's. I really
love
good.
Jim Jeffries.
He's, really
he's so funny.
For me, after Mitch Hedberg would probably be Chris D'Elia.
Okay.
Have you ever watched any of his stand-up?
I don't think so.
He's got like I'm gonna butcher his bit, but he's basically talking about like having a kid, and basically he's talking because he doesn't have any kids, but he was talking about watching the movie Shazam and crying.
You're telling me about that.
And then he says, "Could you imagine that if you had a kid?" And excuse me, if you had a kid and he came walking in and you were watching Shazam and you were crying, and then you're like, go to bed, and then he goes to his friends and he goes, hey guys, Hey guys, do you know what it's like when your dad cries and you have to go to bed? That's pretty fucking funny, dude. That's pretty fucking funny.
The last night I watched it last night just because I was up kind of late. I watched poker like the last.
That's what you were saying.
All day Monday, and then like most of the day yesterday before I had to work, and then even a little bit today. I just was watching poker because I love watching poker.
I didn't know that you were into that.
Oh yeah, I love watching poker. I really enjoy it. A lot of people like it's really boring to them, but to me, I really enjoy it a lot because I know what's going on.
Oh, okay.
And like how people are betting and all that. But the last thing I watched last night was In the Army Now.
Oh, my
Pauly
God.
Shore.
You know what? You don't have to yell because I'm standing right here.
Yeah, and it was a total Pauly Shore movie, and it wasn't very good. Of course,
Andy Dick and Pauly Shore.
It was Andy Dick and Pauly Shore, and then Lori Petty was in it.
I still have a crush on her.
Oh, yeah.
She's Tank Girl, man.
Oh yeah. Well, she's the last thing I saw her in was
Orange is the New Black.
Yeah. But she's still cool because she was playing it crazy.
She's looking rough though, dude. She's
still
rough.
good looking.
Yeah, she aged, but she's still good looking, dude. She's one of those actresses. Like I remember, like you were talking about in the Army Now.
Yeah.
I remember just having a crush on her.
You know what? Oh, I want to bring this up because it's kind of a meme on Facebook right now. And of course, you personally could be, or somebody listening to us now could this be months from now. But they're having that like age 10 year like challenge where they like take a photo.
Yeah.
And every time I see a woman in it, and I'm not just trying to bullshit or anything, because every time I see a woman when it goes from like 10 years ago to now, I'm always like, they're hotter now.
Yeah.
Because I honestly feel that, and a lot of men don't agree with me, but I feel women age very well.
Yeah.
And I do end up feeling that women like get hotter.
Did you see the one with Christina Hendricks?
No.
Oh, dude.
But you see that, dude? It's like women get, honestly to me, like I see women when they're younger and I see women when they're older. They're hotter. Like you look at Gillian Anderson, for instance. I think she's way better looking now.
Women just age better. Just in general.
Well, they say that about men. They always say that men age better than women. But I honestly feel that kind of women age just as well as men. You know?
But we don't have an opinion on men. So
hey, well, no, you can look at certain men like
Well,
Sean
dude,
Connery. I'd say Sean Connery.
I would have to say Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, yeah.
Has
he not gotten better looking as he's gotten older?
Like he started as Wolverine 19 years ago, and he still, in my opinion, can still play the part and still look badass.
And I'm sure there are a lot of women out there who feel like they don't look nearly as good as they did when they were like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I got to disagree, man.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, now that you bring up the
I mean, of course, it's not all men and all women who look better as they
right.
age because certain factors happen.
Right.
But I do agree that a lot of times when I see it, a higher percentage than not, they do look a lot better.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I'm like it.
I'd much rather date a woman who's 35 than who's 25.
Right. Well, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like recently, like my new thing, over the last couple days, the new thing that I've been interested in is like women over 40.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm 36.
Yeah,
that's not that big of a stretch.
Yeah,
it's not that big of a stretch. But like I've always been attracted to older women, even when I was like my very first girlfriend when I was 18 was fucking. I think she was 24.
Yeah.
So I was winning at that point. Like that's hashtag winning.
Yeah.
Like if you're 18 in the 90s and have a 24-year-old girlfriend, that was dope.
Yeah.
That was
But
dope.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, like, any woman who's listening to this now, and like, I just want to tell you, you're probably hotter now than you were 10 years ago.
Keep rocking it.
Yeah.
Keep rocking it.
And I'm probably still be just as into you when you're 10 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I could not agree more.
And we're not bullshitting you at all.
We're not. We're not.
And I think there would be a good proportion of men would say the same thing.
Yeah. And it's kind of a selfish thing, but like maybe it's because they got their shit together.
Yeah.
That could be kind of like a real could be a real superficial thing.
Oh yeah.
But like that's just kind of like the way I've been kind of looking at it.
People
lately.
are very, very self-conscious about themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the way like things are on social media nowadays, especially.
Well,
the way people put up, they want to put their best picture out there. Or,
yeah, exactly.
I always refer back to people put on masks nowadays more than anything to make themselves look better than their lives might really be.
There's a difference between your like social media self and your actual self.
Yeah, there really is.
Like, 'cause I personally have never used a filter in my life. Well, I lie on Instagram. I've like put on black and white a couple times.
Oh yeah.
But,
well, no, you see it with like Snapchat putting like the bunny ears on there or whatever they are.
Dude, I can't stand.
There's actually
that
like
shit.
a filter I think on like Snapchat I want to say, like, I don't use Snapchat, so I'm not 100%, but where it like kind of makes you look like better or something, or
I'm
you can
sure
adjust
there
certain
is.
things about yourself. And there's actually people out there who've gone and gotten like plastic surgery to look like that.
That's creepy.
That's a new thing.
That's creepy.
But they want to look so much better on like an Instagram picture or a Snapchat, video. That's just the way it is now. I mean, it's sad to us.
Yeah.
But we didn't grow up or living in that generation.
Yeah. We're both in our 30s. So.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just the way like online social media culture have gone nowadays.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So
let's get on a happier note.
Let's get ready to.
That's more of philosophical bones
Yeah, it was.
topic. So let's get on to this day in history.
This one is kind of funny. Like I found it and I was like, dude, I got to use this one.
Yeah, please.
So in this day in history, in 1919, prohibition was enacted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What was that, like the 20-something amendment?
The 18th. The 18th.
Oh, it was the 18th amendment.
The 18th Amendment.
Which was repealed like how many years later? Like
It wasn't until the 60s or something.
No. It was in the 40s.
Well, there's some
Or
states.
no, it was in the 30s.
There's some states that kept it up until almost the 60s. Like even today, like Salt Lake City is still a dry state.
Well, you mean a dry city?
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, there's still counties out there in the U.S. that are dry counties.
Yeah. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Like I saw like one.
Well, actually, where they make Jack Daniels, that's a dry county.
Yeah. Well, and like another one that I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I tend to keep finding these.
Mm-hmm.
So in this day in history, in 1911, Albert Fish was put to death. He was a prolific serial killer.
How many people did he kill?
32.
Wow.
Yeah, and most of them were kids, dude.
Eesh.
And he had this weird thing where he would. I'm not gonna get crazy, but
Yeah.
he used to like actually take needles
Mm-hmm.
and push them into his own body and break them
Oh,
off, and push them into his own body and break them off, so he couldn't get them out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn, dude.
but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey, we got to throw a little true crime in there.
Yeah,
Right?
you know me, man. You
Yeah.
know me. You guys know.
It's Rufus the Villain.
Yeah, you know that.
Check out Rufus the Villain True Crime Corner. by
Yeah.
the way.
Oh, speaking of which, it's not gonna probably be out till Friday or Saturday. We're gonna record a Dahmer tomorrow.
Yeah.
And like you saw my paperwork I did on that one. Like I'm gonna have to really condense that shit down,
Yeah.
because I've been doing it with my like just pen and paper.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I wrote out like 15 pages just today,
Shit.
and my fucking hand hurts.
All right. So anyway, let's get on to our next topic of the night: ninjas.
How can he be a ninja?
He lived for 20 years in Japan. He trained Kogaryu style ninjutsu.
We've got to stop him. I'll call Lieutenant Dime.
This is no job for the police. It's something I'll have to do. Only a ninja can stop a ninja.
I'm a ninja, I'm a hoodie ninja. I'm a ninja, I'm a hoodie ninja. I'm a ninja,
What an awesome introduction for this topic.
Oh, dude, gotta give a shout out to MC Chris.
Yeah, shout out to MC Chris.
Yeah.
So this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I've been in a martial arts since I was about 5.
Yeah.
I started with Wing Chun, which is a Chinese style, which is really, it's like when you get into styles, there's a lot of differences between provinces and specific families. Like in particular, I'll get into this later, but the ninja were also, they're known as ninja, shinobi, chunin, and then I wrote it down. The name for a female ninja is called konoichi.
I didn't know there were female ninjas.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that konoichi doesn't specifically pertain to a female ninja. It's a ninja that uses sex as part of their attack.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Explain a little bit.
So it's basically, say you coerce somebody into bed,
Oh.
and then while they're asleep, you make your kill, or yeah.
Well, that would mostly be associated with women, though.
That's why I decided to state that it would be a female ninja.
Okay.
Because like I have to cite my resource material for tonight. Mm-hmm. It's called I don't have the book on me right now, but it's called it's called Ninja 1000 Years of the Shadow Warrior by Jim Jun. It's really good. Like I've had that book for almost like 20 years.
Damn.
Yeah. So
you've been waiting to do this for a long time.
yeah. So basically, your ninja was like your covert. It was like the world's first assassin team.
Yeah.
It was like the world's first like covert agents. They were like your first guerrilla warriors.
Okay.
You know, does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, they specialize in like espionage and sabotage and stuff like that.
I'm sure you have it written down. I might be getting ahead
No,
of you a
you're
little bit,
good,
but when did they like start?
Well, the very first count of like ninja warfare or shinobi being used was in the year 722.
722. Wow.
722.
Jeez.
Dude, that was a long time.
That was in China, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Japan.
Japan.
In
Okay.
Japan.
Okay.
And like I'll get into it kind of a little bit later. But you know, so basically they were the world's first guerrilla warfare team. They would employ techniques that the samurai saw lower than them. They basically, because Bushido is a code that's used by the samurai, and their axe, the ninjas like techniques were beneath the samurai.
Oh,
They basically looked down on them
damn.
because they used
They're the second-class citizens.
that, and basically the techniques of the ninja, of the shinobi, the chunin, were looked down upon because they were like surprise attacks.
Oh.
They were sneaky. You know, like they're the master of the shadows. So
They were like the guy who would shoot you in the back.
exactly. So
He's a cowboy reference.
yeah. So I can't really say this word exact. It's spelled IGUA, the Yuga province. That's where we get today's most of our writings and like actual artifacts from like ninja and the philosophy of ninjutsu.
Okay.
Does that make?
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
following?
I getcha.
Yeah. So following the unification of Japan under the Tokugawa shogunate, I explained that to you before. A shogun is basically like a president, and then like a daimyo is basically like a mayor.
Okay.
So that's about that time the presence of the ninja kind of like started to fall off. Then they became more into like folklore, stuff like that. You know, like they were like the kind of stuff of legend. And so in the 18th century, they found a bunch of books that were called, I'm going to have to spell this out, Bansensukia.
Okay.
Banasakai. That's the manual of ninjutsu, basically.
Okay.
And like, so that's, you know, that like I said, the use of them kind of fell away. The thing is like ninja were necessary in military warfare because they were the dudes that you sent in to fuck shit up prior to your main forces going in. Like,
so they're the advanced recon.
they are. They absolutely are. They would send them in to go, like I said, espionage, sabotage, assassination, to go in and like fuck stuff up, get stuff in all. They used to use a lot of psychological warfare, you know, like to where they would like kidnap somebody. And you know what I'm saying? Like they would kidnap somebody and then send a finger back.
Oh, okay.
You know, like they did a lot of that stuff.
Shit.
Yeah. So one of the big things I wanted to talk about was the Mitsigumo. Like excuse me, I'm sorry. Like I said, with the psychological warfare, what they would do is they would perpetuate their mythological stance. Like so, one technique they used was called Mitsigumo, which translates in English to the water spider. So they had two ways of doing this. One of them was actually disproved on Mythbusters.
Okay.
So the one that was actually in use and that was proven, they would go into an area that they were going to raid the day before and put logs in the water, literally with the reeds in their mouth, like you see in the cartoons, like with the ninja underwater putting poles in the water to where they were just underneath the water line. And the other one is they would actually have like these big shoes to where they could like walk on the water.
That was the one that was disproven.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think so.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty far-fetched. In my opinion.
But what they would do is they put these poles in the water and then wait for the enemy to be watching, and then have a whole group of shinobi go run across the water.
Shit.
You know, that way, like everybody's like, "Oh my god!" You know, they would do everything they could to perpetuate themselves being supernatural.
Kind of like what pirates would do.
Exactly. Like one of my other favorites I'll get into later, when like their tools and stuff like that. One of the other myths that they perpetuated was invisibility.
Oh,
Because of the practice of ninjutsu was all about stealth. They were stealth warriors. That was their whole thing.
Well, that's what you usually think of when you think of ninja as being very stealthy and
stealthy.
like invisible, and
Well, like on
they
that,
could just get in, get out, and you never even knew they were
exactly. One of the big things that they employed that they called black eggs. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
So every clan, because there was several clans, hundreds of clans of ninja.
Oh.
And they all had their own specific ninjutsu. They all had their own specific concoctions for poison.
Mm-hmm.
But the black egg was one of the things that they used to perpetuate invisibility.
Okay.
So, you remember like in like Ninja Turtles?
Mm-hmm.
Ninja, vanish.
Yeah.
Throw something to the ground.
Oh, yeah. Like a smoke bomb?
Yeah.
Like Batman uses that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but there's two versions of the black egg. One version was like making smoke, so you just disappear.
Yeah.
The other version was this really diabolical fucking thing, dude. They would mix oil and ground glass.
Oof.
And this was used to throw at somebody's fucking eyes.
Oh, my God.
Like they would literally come running up and just whip the shit in your face, which I'll get into a little bit, which is called a bridging weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to you about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it's like literally this legend came up because like people would see them and all of a sudden something would hit their face and their fucking vision would be gone.
And they're blind.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brutal, man. I didn't know the ninjas did that.
Yeah. So ninja were considered the anti-samurai. And it's simply because their code was different.
Okay.
Like, because ninjas, the whole thing about ninjas is like they would do it whatever it took. The art of Bushido, it was all about honor. Like you hear about the I forget the phrase for ritual suicide for the samurai. I think it's I'm drawing a blank on it, but it's like if you're dishonored, you sit down and cut your own gut out. Ninja were like, fuck that. We're gonna do whatever it takes to win.
So ninjas were they were definitely the pirates of the time, and the samurai could probably be seen as like the Spanish or
the samurai,
like the ruling class.
Exactly.
And the samurai were like in a ruling class. They
were.
They served on behalf of the emperor. Pretty much.
Yeah. So like the big thing on that note is like so the big thing about ninjas, like I said earlier, they were necessary for warfare because they got shit done. They got shit to, like, if something had to get done.
Well, like you were saying, they were the guerrilla fighters.
They were the guerrilla fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like samurai just looked down on them, because like they didn't follow the code of Bushido. They didn't follow the code of Bushido. But the thing is like they were necessary.
It's funny now because like people consider ninjas to be like a lot cooler than samurai.
Well, I would say they are.
Well, that's when people think of pirates. They think they're fucking cool, badass people.
Yeah. So like, and one of the crazy things that I was reading about in this book is that there's actually a lot of instances of samurai actually hiring ninja shinobi chunin to do to take on stuff that they thought was beneath them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So they were, because they were like, okay, I'm not going to go do this. Let's just go hire these.
They were kind of a necessary evil for the samurai.
They absolutely were necessary.
They had a purpose.
Yeah, they absolutely had a purpose, and that's what's interesting because like they fit a niche. They fit a niche. There was something that needed to be done because this was feudal Japan, and like there was war everywhere between daimyos and shogun and all. Like there was, like, think about it. Like Japan is tiny.
Oh yeah,
it'd be like us it'd be like Tucson, Arizona having a war with Phoenix.
Wow. That'd be kind of fun, though. Well, I don't know if it'd be fun, but I'd love to destroy that city.
Right. So
sorry, if you live here, you hate that city.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to get,
it's like San Diego and LA.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
San Diego would love to get rid of LA,
like,
or like Southern California can get rid of Northern California,
or like Mesa and Oral Valley.
Yeah, to specify it to our region.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to get into is the skills required for a ninja. The skills required for a ninja are what are referred to today as ninjutsu. Ninjutsu is a broad term. Ninjutsu is a broad term for there's a big set of skills. It's about being on your own. It's about being able to survive on your own, being silent, being quick, or being able to actually unify in a group and be precise.
Okay.
So like one of the
what's the term, like instead of a gun you use a knife or instead of a knife you use a scalpel.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
what I'm thinking of.
So like there's instances of them actually like using Mitsugumo and then running up on top of each other to scale a wall.
Oh wow.
To where they would like go like 6 to 7 people high, to where one guy would come running up and grab onto the wall. And then the next guy would come running up, stand on his shoulders, and grab on the wall.
Okay.
And then follow that process to go over the wall. So one dude could go over the wall, and a lot of times this was done at night.
Yeah.
You know,
so they were quiet about the whole thing.
Fuck yeah,
It wasn't like these people were seeing this coming.
you don't see a ninja coming.
No.
You don't see a ninja coming. So one of the big things I wanted to get into is the actual art of ninjutsu.
Yes.
So ninjutsu is this very technical thing. It's like okay, they teach you how to survive. Like it's basically teaching you how to be a survivalist and be a badass hand-to-hand fighter.
Nice.
Yeah, like so it's one of the big things about ninjutsu is the weapons are actually farm weapons. And like I'll get into that like at the end of this little segment here.
Yeah.
But like they're ninja are actually created out of, like I said before, necessity. They at the time in Japan, peasants were not allowed to have weapons. So that's where you get the nunchaku from. That's where you get the kama from. That's where you get the kasorigama from. That's where you get the shuriken from. So are you following?
Yeah.
But
what were some of those kind of weapons?
I'll get into that after
Yeah,
that.
keep going.
Yeah, so the first open usage of the style was in a military campaign in the Goepi War. I've like watched it on YouTube how to say it's Goepi.
Okay.
Goepi War.
Yeah.
By a general named Mananit. It's Minamoto.
Okay.
So, but he was the very first person to employ Shinobi.
Oh.
So, but the big thing about ninjutsu is it's like I said, it's when it comes to hand, it is very specific.
Okay.
It's very specific. It's designed to utilize pressure points, superior leverage, bone breaks, hyperextension, air and blood chokes, knowledge of the human body, and speed.
Damn.
Yeah, so like that's like when you like that's kind of like comes down to like the when just like in the layman American terms, like that dude's a fucking ninja.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'll break down the weapons real quick.
Yeah.
So the first one I said was the Kasori. What was the first one I said?
Kasorigama.
Kasorigama. Okay, so the Kasorigama is what? Do you know what a kama is?
Yeah.
Okay, so a kama is a small sickle.
Okay.
And that was actually developed for cutting down wheat and rice.
Oh, okay.
So what a kasorigama is the sickle with the kama with a 6 to 12 foot chain on it with a lead ball on the end.
Yeah. I remember I brought it up to you at one point. It was about like thinking like Kill Bill with like the girl
Exactly.
dressed up in the
Exactly.
Japanese schoolgirl outfit, and she was using that thing
Exactly.
like twirling around her neck and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the second one I said? Because I just rattled off a bunch. What was
I
the
remember
second
what the second one was.
So okay, so the next one I'll get into is the kunai. The kunai is actually a tilling tool. It's like to till the dirt.
Yeah.
But it turned into what you would call a bridging weapon. So I'm going to get into like kunai and shuriken. So like you see in the movies to where like somebody throws a throwing star and it sticks somebody and they die.
Yeah.
That's not what that's a misrepresentation of those two weapons.
No.
So what a kunai or a shuriken would be is what's called a bridging weapon. So like I say you're face to face with somebody or several people. What those weapons are for is you go running up and you whip it at them.
Okay.
And it's so they like take a defensive like.
Well, when you think of ninjas, you pretty much always think of the throwing star.
Well, that's a shuriken.
Okay.
So basically, what those weapons are for is like when you're face to face with somebody, you whip it at them. So they have to defend themselves, and you use that time to bridge the gap.
Okay.
That's why they call it a bridging weapon.
Yeah, it's a weapon
way to
they
get-
use to like kind of throw people off guard.
It's a way to get closer.
Yeah.
It's a way to get closer. Like you literally. I
So
hate,
they could like throw a star. They could throw that thing at them, and then all of a sudden come up with their sword and just kind of cut them down.
I actually read it today. I read an account of I forget the practitioner's name, but he was famous for carrying 6 in each hand.
Wow.
6 shuriken in each hand, and what he would do is hold them Wolverine style.
Yeah.
And what he would do is you know like you see the representations in like anime where they run with their hands behind their back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's because the whole that whole positioning is to throw kunai, to throw shuriken. So you come running up and you go wha,
Yeah, you catch people off guard. by doing that.
You come running up and boom.
It's like, oh, this guy's running. We're like, what the hell's going on? All of a sudden, you just get stuck with a bunch of these
Yeah.
things. They're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. So the big difference between samurai and ninjutsu blades, samurai blades are curved.
Okay.
Like, and you've seen a katana.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you call a ninja sword, I'm going to say quote unquote ninja sword, is what's called a ninjato.
Oh.
And it's actually designed to be straight because in the dark, they hold. I wish you guys could see me do this, but in the dark, you hold it. So here's the hilt. You point it at your opponent. And
Like
then-
kind of horizontally.
yeah, you hold it, and they can't with a straight blade. They can't see how long it is.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
It's all about deception.
It's 100% about
Okay.
deception. And then the next thing I want to get into is the ninja's perpetuacy for poisoning. Like, I actually read a really cool account. I forget the name of the clan. I neglected to write down the name of these clans because their fucking names are so long.
Well, he said there was like 1,200 or something.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there was this one specific clan. They were famous for taking spiders, super poisonous spiders, and leaving them in targets' clothing.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, because how can you tie that back to anybody?
that's true.
How can you tie?
It's like, oh, a spider just crawled in their clothing.
Yeah, yeah. And one of my, I think I talked to you about before, was the thread technique. So basically, they would be in whatever the setting might be, where the target was asleep. They would crawl up into the rafters, or however they would set it up, cut a hole in the ceiling, whatever. They would string thread down
Yeah.
into the target's mouth, and then drip poison down it.
Oh.
Like that.
I always think back to, like, it's not the exact same thing, but I think of like Star Wars, one of the prequels. I think it was the second one.
Yep.
Where like they were like
That's where they used
this
the-
assassin was trying to kill Padme,
And they
like,
used the poison.
and
They used the
used
poison caterpillar.
They used the poison caterpillar, and it went down, but it went down a rope to get down to
Where
her.
do you think they got that idea from?
Oh, dude. Well, I mean, Star Wars is kind of they took a lot from samurai.
Well,
because
the-
Jedi pretty much are samurai.
Well, the word Jedi comes from the word judoka,
yeah,
which is a practitioner of jiu-jitsu.
yeah.
Like,
There was some Star Wars knowledge in some people,
yeah.
right?
So one of the other ones I wanted to touch on was poison darts.
Yeah.
The poison darts. I forget. I wrote down the word. I'm not even going to try to say it. But the poison darts were their way of long distance killing.
Okay.
Like, basically, they would
They use like a blowgun.
a blowgun.
Okay.
Oh yeah, blowgun. Like, they were I can't say that they were the first, but they were the best at it.
Okay.
They were the best at it. Like, I think the poison they used was off of a frog.
Okay.
Same way that a lot of tribes in the Amazon did it. But what they would actually do is take this poison and boil it down to where it was a powder.
Okay.
And then they could actually what they would do is they would rub their darts in it and then bake that dart, like get that dart really hot. So basically to where that powder actually became part of that metal.
Wow.
Yeah. There's some really interesting shit there, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So one of the last things I really wanted to touch on was a lot of the ninja manuals that were found, like I read out earlier. I can't say that word. I'm never going to try. But one of the
We're
things...
bad at that.
Yeah, well, at least...
We don't speak Japanese either.
Yeah. But one of the biggest things in the philosophy, the code, the way of the ninja is the art of adaptation.
Okay.
So basically, in the manual, they would actually tell you and explain to you that in everyday menial tasks, there's martial aspects to it. Like the way you would pick something up would be like how you stood, how you picked it up, how you brought it to your body. Is that efficient? So like the art of ninjutsu really speaks to a lot of scholars. The thing that I read, that they weren't just these everyday mercenaries. The art of ninjutsu really spoke to a culture. There was really a lot behind the training, the clans, the way that they did their business. Like, they weren't these just like fly by night peasants that got paid to go be badasses.
Yeah.
They had a code. They had a way to do things. And and that's why I'm fascinated with martial arts, and that's why I am fascinated with the ninja. So by no means am I a ninja.
Yeah.
But I've also studied for almost 20 years.
Well, it seems like they were just as good as the samurai, like when it came to
Absolutely.
ability, but they were looked down on.
Yeah.
because they just weren't brought up in that class system.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and one of the things I think I mentioned to you a couple days ago, a lot of the ninjutsu techniques were actually designed to fight somebody in armor.
Oh.
Because the ninja only wore cloth.
Yeah, that was one thing you
You know, like
mentioned. Yeah.
samurai were head to toe steel and iron, and a lot of their weapons were adapted to fight somebody wearing armor.
Well, they fought more head on. They were like knights.
Exactly.
That's the best way to put samurai. They were knights.
Absolutely.
And it seems like the ninjas were more like the commoners, like fighting the battles.
They were the peasants.
Yeah.
And one of the ones I forgot to
But
mention.
they were just as capable.
Fuck yeah, they were. They just weren't privileged.
Yeah.
They weren't born in a spot where they had money.
Yeah.
To
They just had a different skill set.
yeah. Like one of the ones I didn't
Like ninjas are like more like the subtle weapon.
Yep.
You know, like using a knife to kill someone as opposed to like the
A
samurai,
grenade.
which is more like a grenade or a gun.
yeah.
You know.
Well, like one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is like specifically the Kasorigama was actually designed to fight somebody that has a shield or armor,
Oh.
because it's actually, you know, like I told you, it has a long chain and ball. It's actually designed in the training of it. You're actually designed to bring it in at an arc to where the natural reaction of your opponent is to block. So the weapon, it's called a soft weapon, believe it or not, to where the weapon will actually get caught on whatever they're blocking, whip around and hit them in the back.
Oh. I got to ask this question, and you might not have an answer for it, but did the samurai and the ninjas ever like have like battles between each
Oh,
other?
absolutely, absolutely. There was a lot of like different daimyos. Different, like I explained the difference between daimyos and shogun. Different daimyos would own different parts of the land and decide, hey, I want this land, and then they would be like, they would send in their ninja, or they send in their samurai. And then the opposing ninja or samurai would like. There was very little ninja on ninja shit that I read, but like
They had a mutual respect for one another.
Yeah.
It was like samurai. I'm sure most samurai never fought each other. for the
they
most
did, but it was mostly over honor.
part. Oh, okay.
You know, like when samurai fought, it was because you disrespected me.
Ah.
Like there was one very famous samurai, and I'm gonna catch shit, but I can't remember his name. He's the guy that wrote the Book of the Five Rings.
Nah.
So like more or less, this guy's got an amazing story, and I cannot. Masimoto is his name, but he was famous for being a swordsman, and he used to get challenged in the street all the time, and so he would cut down people all the time because of honor. If you get challenged, you have to defend your honor.
Well, it was like in the U.S. when like I challenge you to a duel.
Exactly.
Or I'm sure in England and too.
Yeah.
Like,
But what I'm getting at is one day he was like getting older, and he was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And he got challenged by this kid that, by accounts, he was like maybe 21. Maybe 21. And like by this time, Masimoto had cut down hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay. He pointed over to this little island in the province that they lived. Let's go have our duel over there. Let's go have our duel over there. And then they get in the boat together. And they row over to the island, and the kid gets out, and then Masimoto pushes off of the bank, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "My martial arts to not fight."
Oh,
But the
gangster man.
But the thing is, before that, he actually beat somebody to death with a boat oar.
Oh wow!
And today in Okinawa, Japan, there's actually a statue of him with because basically he took I'm kind of like jumping ahead with the story because I didn't think about this in the before. But he actually challenged him to a fight, and more or less he's like, I can beat you with a boat oar. So what he did is he took a boat oar and carved it into the shape of a katana, and the fight went down, and he beat him to death with a fucking boat oar. But so like at this point where he did that thing,
and there's a statue of him.
There is Matsumoto is his name. Look it up. It's Matsumoto.
That's a badass right there.
Yeah, dude, but basically he at the age with this kid, he was just like, I'm not killing anybody anymore. So like they rode over to that little island, and he pushed off, and he's like, peace, dude. Like I won. I'm going home. You're like my honor's fine because I could have killed you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go home for the day, and you're still alive, and you should count your lucky
This
star.
kid was like, "What the fuck did I do?"
Well, he's lucky.
Yeah.
He's lucky because like even
I mean, we don't know who he was because he could have fucking died on that island.
well, it was by
Or
all,
he could have tried to swim back to shore and
by all accounts, it really wasn't like a big deal.
yeah.
But like Matsumoto was like, let's just go over there so we don't hurt anybody, and he was Like I'll let before you go home tonight, I'll look up the statue. He's like literally like holding, and you know, and this was a big thing in my life growing up. I was like really into the martial arts. Like I mostly studied Wing Chun, which, like I said, which is a Chinese style. But ninjutsu is one of these styles. It's legendary.
Yeah.
Like how many?
Still practiced today, I'm sure.
Absolutely, it is. So like
I'm sure it's practiced more than the samurai.
Bushido and jiu-jitsu. Like off the top of your head.
Well, they're now probably seen as equally respectable.
Off the top of your head, if you had to name like 2 styles, what would come to your mind?
Jiu-jitsu and karate.
There you go. So yeah, like ninjutsu is still part of it. Like ninjutsu is what's in its conception is what was referred to as a kill style.
Yeah.
Just like a Filipino Kali. Have you ever heard of Filipino?
No.
Okay, so have you ever seen the Bourne movies?
Yeah.
That's Kali.
Oh.
And you know that style is actually illegal to teach in the United States.
Shit. What?
Yeah.
There's a style that's legal.
Yeah.
I don't believe that, man.
Look it up, dude.
Yeah.
So basically, when the emperor of the Philippines was creating this style, he used to take prisoners out on a boat and to practice these maneuvers. And if it wasn't lethal in 5 maneuvers, it didn't go into the style.
Whoa.
I'm not joking, dude. I'm not joking.
I'm sure you can learn about it online though if you really want to learn.
Well, I can't. I might be remiss to say it's illegal, but there's no.
I don't think they could outlaw a style.
There's no Filipino Kali schools that teach that technique.
I could see like them like in the Philippines like outlawing it, but in the U.S. I couldn't see that
Dude,
happening.
one of the practices for Filipino Kali is you have to fucking wrestle an ox. I'm not joking, dude. Like they literally go into a mud pit. They literally go into a mud pit, and one of the things you have to do is grab the horns, like thusly.
Yeah.
You guys can't see me look
Grab
like
the bull by the horns.
like I'm grabbing a big
the ox
string.
by the horns.
And you literally have to turn its neck and bring it to the ground.
Holy shit.
And you can't go further in the style if you can't do that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. No joke.
That's
no joke.
nuts, dude.
But yeah, I just I didn't mean to go on a, like a martial arts tangent there, but that's
that's what the topic calls for.
Yeah, so like, you know, in closing, like the ninja will still always be shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
You know, they'll always be in pop culture. They will always be like the epitome of the badass.
Yeah, definitely.
Literally.
That and to get back to it, pirates.
Fuck yeah.
That like we did 2 badasses tonight. We
Yes,
did
yes, we
pirates.
did.
Even though I'd rather be a ninja than a pirate.
I'd rather be a ninja too.
because at least you live such a shitty fucking life.
Yeah.
Although I will say with pirates, they led a really fun life.
They led a more fun life than a Shinobi would ever.
Oh yeah, but that was just culturally, like, you know, 2 different things.
Yeah. One of the before we end that,
I bet there were probably ninja pirates. Honestly,
there had to have been.
yeah, that'd be cool
The
to find out about.
before we end, one of the big things I wanted to get into was like there was a big belief in ninja being able to have control over the elements, and they did a thing called jutsu. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
And this is like a cartoon called Naruto got really into this.
Okay.
But jutsu are what you see ninjas doing, like these hand positions, and you guys can't see me doing this, but basically jutsus are in legend. Like, okay, so you learn how to do these hand positions. It'll make you faster. It'll make you invisible. It'll make you be able to control water and make a wave happen. Or, you know, like there's all these crazy, like in the cartoon Naruto, one of my favorites is the jutsu is called I think something clone or whatever. But it's like these specific hand positions that the main character can do, and he creates a bunch of clones of himself.
Nice.
So there's a lot of lore in ninjutsu that these things exist, to where you can like do these hand positions and make something supernatural happen.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting stuff, dude.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well, I think we covered the topics pretty damn well.
I think we did, man. I think we did.
And I hope anybody listening to the end, I hope they really enjoyed the episode.
I enjoyed listening about pirates, man. That was good.
Thank you.
It was
I
good.
enjoyed listening about ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next week we got.
We try not to tell each other what we're talking about before.
Yeah, we try to surprise each other.
Yeah.
We
Keep
try to
it kind of
surprise each other.
interesting.
So next week we got Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we're recording Jeffrey Dahmer, which won't be out till probably Friday or Saturday. But thank you guys all for listening. We love you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and we actually got our first YouTube comment. I got
Yeah. By the way, we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you just want to listen to us on YouTube, we're not actually we don't have any video.
Well,
it's just audio.
the episodes are on YouTube.
And also, if you want to listen to us on your Amazon Alexa, we're on there now too.
Isn't that cool?
That is very
Alexa,
cool.
play Nerdy Bones.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you for being here again.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't know why you thank me, dude. I'm always here.
It's because it's fun, dude. It's fun.
It is.
So Nerdy Bones, and we're out.